Hello Internet, I'm Jane Edwards and welcome back to another video. In this video, I'm going to be showing you the software I use to create the pixel art for my game, Upkill. If you haven't checked out Upkill, it is a fast-paced, wave-based zombie platform shooter. A link to it will be at the top of the description below, and if you want to check out the video on Upkill, it will be up in the top right-hand corner. But enough shameless self-promotion, let's have a look at this software. So this software is called Aseprite. Basically, it is a pixel art creation, pixel art animation software, not too dissimilar from something like Paint or Photoshop, but its key focus is on pixel art and its animation. You'll see the actual user interface of it is very pixel arty, and I just thought I'd showcase it. This is by no means a tutorial, but it may be something that you might want to grab. It's only $20 US if you wanted to create your own pixel art for your own game. To get started, you just click New File and choose the canvas size. In my case, I'm going to be working in the 16 by 16 pixel art size. If you wanted to work on something a bit more detailed, you could bump this up to say 32 or 64. You also have the choice of being colored, grayscale, or indexed, and also what kind of background you want. And I want a transparent background. You'll see the user interface is not too dissimilar from something like Photoshop or Paint.net or just Paint. You have the color palette on the left here and the color wheel. We have all of the tools, the menu options. You can have multiple windows open at the same time, and also this little section down here, which I'll get into in just a second. So you'll see here is our canvas, and currently we have the brush tool selected. So if I click and drag, I can draw. I can do Control-Z to undo. You're all familiar with all of these sorts of things. Let's talk about a color palette, because a color palette was a term that I wasn't familiar with and something I learnt by doing pixel art. Basically, the term color palette the meaning can change between professions and industries, but in game design, generally, it's basically just a group of colors, and they're the colors that you use when doing all of the art assets for your games. Color palettes are used to make sure that there's sort of synergy between all of the graphics, and they tend to make the whole game as a whole look better. The reason for this is all these colors have been very chosen with meaning. They look good. They all look good together. And I'll show you the difference between using something like a palette and just picking colors willy-nilly from the color wheel. Color palettes can be chosen through this little button here, and you can browse through all the ones that come with Aseprite. You can also put your own in. You'll notice there's a few game consoles in here, and that is because those game consoles used color palettes. Commodore 64, Game Boy, Google's user interface, NES, all of those game consoles actually did have a list of colors that they could only display on the screen, and these set those limitations and restrictions so that you can create art assets that look like they were straight out of like a Game Boy. I, however, like to work on the Indesga 32 color palette, or 64, whatever it is, this one here, because I think it has a nice spread of colors. I also don't like to be restricted too much with my colors. I like to have a few to choose from. So let's just stop talking. Let's try and draw something so I can show you how to use these tools. So let's try and draw something simple, like a tree. There you go, there is my tree. Is it pretty? But I'll show you what it would look like if I didn't use the color palette and actually just chose the colors manually. So let's create a new frame by right-clicking on the number and hitting new frame. You can also hit Alt-N. Let's delete everything that's in this frame, and let's try and draw a tree again, but this time only using the color wheel selector. And there is the tree done just using the color selector. So again, not too bad, but you can see how these colors all seem to just work with each other. And that is because someone who is much better at art has purposefully chosen those colors so that they all do work together. You'll see here, it's not as pretty. They don't seem to work together as well. So that is why I highly recommend using a color palette if you are designing pixel art for your games, because it just makes them look better. I'm going to delete that frame there by right-clicking and clicking delete frame so that we've got our original tree. So that's basically the core concept of drawing pixel art. You've got all your normal tools, erasers, pencils, squares, lines, everything else. I want to show you the animation feature of Aseprite because that is where I think this software is the coolest. If I right-click again and hit new frame and duplicate this tree, Let's now make some modifications to this. So let's make the branches just do a little something like that, and that can go a little bit like that, and a little bit like that. And if I hit play, you can see it animates between those two frames. Let's add another one, like this. Let's do a little bit of that, and we'll move that one over, and then let's just fill in those gaps. Like that. Now you can see it animates between all three of those frames. Pretty cool, huh? Well, you can actually have multiple animations in this same line. So let's just say we wanted these three to be it blowing in the wind. Let's create another one from here on, and let's do it of the tree falling over. So that will be our first frame. Our second frame, we will make it rotate slightly, so we'll just do a little bit of that. We'll add another one, and we'll rotate it again, falling a bit more down, and then we'll do it again, and then we'll have it lying pretty much on the ground. So that was from 4 till 7. If we click on 4 and hold shift and then click on 7, it selects all 4 of those frames. We can right click, add tag, and call this fall. That will be our falling animation. We'll do the same thing for the first 3 frames, but then call this wind. This is it blowing in the wind. Yeah, I'm pretty good. So from here, we can click in any of these frames and any of these tags and hit play, and that will actually animate between just those ones in that tag. The same for full. It will just loop through that falling animation. Now you can do this as many times as you want, and in something like Upkill, I had a player animation where it was standing, running, falling, everything in this big long line, so that I could just copy and paste from frame to frame, ensuring that I didn't have to redraw everything from scratch. From here, you can add layers by right clicking and saying add layer, and say for example I wanted to have lots of different types of trees. I wanted to have like apple trees and orange trees. I could lock this layer because I'm done with it, and now I want to work in this layer. I can draw, let's get the brush tool, or we can hit B and draw some apples, like that for example. I could go through and add apples to all of these animations, and then I would have the apple tree. Then I could untick that, and they're gone. I could then add another layer, select orange, and now I've got an orange tree. And I could export them with those layers hidden and have the tree have all of its different variants in the same file, the apples and the oranges and whatever else it may be. Pretty cool, huh? So from here, let's just say I'm done and I want to actually export my tree, just the base tree. From here, I can go File, Export, and I can export it as a GIF because of this animation here. I can change the size, I can choose what frames I actually want to export, the wind animation, the full animation, or just the selected frames. I can export it for Twitter if you wanted to share it online. However, the way I did it for Upkill was to use Aseprite sheet. And what this does is get every single frame and put them in a big long line, and then from here I can actually change the way that it's outputted. I can change the border between them, and in GameMaker I can import each frame or a number of frames for the different types of animations. So this ended up being the way that I did it for Upkill. So that just about wraps it up. I just wanted to do a quick overview and just make you aware of this software if you didn't know about it. So Aseprite, the link to it will be in the description below. I am not sponsored, but the link to purchase it will be below. It is $20 US, and I highly recommend it if you're working with pixel art. This is all for today's video. I hope to see you on the next video, and I hope you have a great day and a great week, and I'll see you soon, hopefully. So take it easy, and I'll catch you on the next one. Bye.